Who's excited to spend the next 2 hours with me? Well, an hour and 45 at this point. Well, that's pretty fucking. No one. I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing some. Yeah! Where's the fucking enthusiasm, guys? It's a 3-day weekend coming up for many of you. We're doing 11.2 and 11.3 today. They are both on 2 sample tests for MEs. And I really like what I said this morning. And I said it differently than I ever have before, and so we're going to go with that. They come in 2 different forms. Dependent samples and independent samples. Dependent is 11.2 and independent is 11.3. Now, we've been all gung-ho, like really excited to have independent, like that's the requirement for damn near everything we've done so far. Independent, independent, independent. Things need to be independent. Why all of a sudden do we have something for dependent? Well, it turns out there's a lot of tests that we need to do. Theories, ideas that have dependencies in them. Simple example. I start taking a medicine. Did it help? Now, this would be on a larger scale than just one person answering it, but like maybe it's on diabetes, like the Ozempic, the new whatever they're having, it's a shot you take like once a week, and it's supposed to be better for diabetes and other things, and it turns out there's weight loss and shit as well. But they're like, does it work? And it doesn't help to compare 2 different people taking it. So this kind of has to be a before and after kind of thing. What was your blood sugar like before you took it? Before you went on the medication, then you wait a month and you're on the medication for a month for your body to get used to it, and then you go, what's your blood sugar like now? But there's a guaranteed dependency because I am in both groups. It has to be me comparing me versus me. It doesn't make sense to have my blood sugar level compared to Johnny's blood sugar level if we both start taking the same medicine. So we don't even want to average it out, because averaging it out doesn't help. People run at different levels, or you talk about blood pressure or a variety of things. Before and after is a huge example of things that require dependencies. Dependent studies. Another one is related people, whether it's spouses or siblings, something like that. How does it affect one? It's helpful when like that's more likely to happen when it's a male and a female. So you're seeing how, and even more likely with siblings because you have the same genetic material. How does it affect something? How does the male respond to a certain thing versus how does the female respond? But you want to have a connection between you. That way, you know it's the gender and not other factors. That kind of thing. So when there's this dependency involved, we call this a paired means test. We're gonna do it StatCrunch, obviously. We've got stats, T-stats, paired. You are not given the option for with sample. Data is required. All the information that you would check for pairing is gone if you take the mean first. You got to have the data to compare against each other. And the computer needs the data to compare against each other to get the results of this test. So you actually have to have it in the system. It's paired, that's the first thing that's required. No samples, or no summaries, I mean. No summary. The second thing that's required is N1 must equal N2. Must. Can't have something that's unpaired in one of the groups. I think more I should have added with part A related to the data. In StatCrunch, the data that's paired together needs to be side by side. In the columns. So don't sort it. Don't sort one of the columns. If you don't sort anything, you can't possibly bug it up. If you do sort it, you can try to make it so it sorts the entire grid and keeps the rows together. But if you fuck that up, you lose it. So you're better off just not sorting anything. We still require some shit that we required for other stuff. We need let's see. What do I want to say here? While they are paired, they should be still simple random. It should be done with simple random sampling. Should stay in effect. This has been true for everything. You just pick the pairs and randomly. The before and after is pretty easy because it's the same object or person. And like we had with previous means, we need n to be greater than 30, but now it's for each group. Or the data is normally distributed with no outliers. One of these is easier to know for sure than the other. Just fucking do more than 30 samples or 30 individuals in your sample. But whether or not something's normally distributed is harder to fucking tell. Outliers you can tell pretty quickly if you're looking for the mean of something and everything's around 100 and fucking here comes Johnny at 180. You're like, Johnny doesn't fit. This kid's doing his own thing.
Always.
That was Sesame Street shit, right? One of these kids is doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Sesame Street was trying to teach you about outliers.
Oh man.
Holy shit, look at that. Go Sesame Street. What a fucking name is Mr. Snuffleupagus? Do they still have Mr. Snuffleupagus?
Yeah.
I hope you don't know the answer. Oh, you have kids, never mind. Did they actually watch Sesame Street?
No.
Do they still make Sesame Street?
Probably.
Yeah, there's like things like being about it, all like the Muppets, or something like that. They're gonna like add some.
Well, then again, I know that Elmo's still a thing, and Elmo's from fucking Sesame Street.
Yeah.
So how did that was a dumb fucking question. I know Sesame Street's still around. Alright. I said N1 needs to be N equal to N2. If you see that in a problem, that doesn't guarantee paired means test. Because we could have, like when we're doing an independent test, we could just pick the same sample size for those two. But if N1 does not equal N2, you can guarantee it's not a paired test. Who in here has not seen the movie Jaws or any of the Jaws? Not gonna, yeah. Oh, 3 of you, only 3. Well, that's good. At least you guys know that you're outliers. Well, no, 3 maybe isn't outlier yet. I gotta pull my other classes now. I need to know. I found out some horrifying shit today. Found out geese have teeth. They fucking attack with it. Someone showed a picture of it, and I'm like, God damn, that's fucking terrifying.
Wait, what?
Geese have teeth. They fucking look like predator shit, like a velociraptor mouth. There's some fucking Google goose teeth, and see what images you maybe don't. You might fucking no longer look at geese and go, yeah, you look pleasant. Don't do that. I have a weird morning class for stats. All right, so something important to note here. The way we would look at something would be, does mu1 equal mu2? But StatCrunch does it differently. They use mu and then d, which equals mu1 minus mu2, and they set that equal to 0. So you'll just see mu d equals 0 for H naught. And HA is mu d doesn't, or it's less than, or it's greater than. I don't know which one. The same 0. I thought D was for difference, because it's checking the difference of the means. But I realized today it might not be, D might be for dependent. Because it's a dependent sample, it's the only hypothesis test that they do this on. If they use a D, so it might be for dependency. It does help it distinguish it from the 11.3 test, you'll see. 11.3 test, they actually use mu1 and mu2. So you guys ready for a couple samples? Are you fucking with me, Pearson? You better not fucking just turn it off all of a sudden. I will drop kick you in your fucking head.
Damn.
Oh, there it goes. It saved itself. There's no way in hell I'm drop kicking someone in their head. Can you picture me climbing up my size, my age, jump, trying to drop kick someone in their head? I'm gonna hurt myself more than I hurt them. I know that. Big people land hard. I'll tell you that right now. Oh, you MFer. Let's try this again. There we go. StackCrunch is opening now. Since it requires data, and rather than writing down all the data, I'm just going to use the lecture notes. I'll show you it. Like if you want to pull the data later on to use it yourself to look at stuff, I'm doing my Math 21 lecture notes. I show you how to get to in the file section. And like this area starts on 127 and 128. Page 127 is going to have an example on Hampton Inns versus La Quinta. And 128, we're gonna look at a roller coaster thing with a before and after.
I know when I was in the military, Dave, if you lived over a 50-mile radius from Fresno or whatever it was, and they put us up in the Hampton to stay for the weekend. We got to stay in a luxurious room for the military.
What's that have to do with why in terms of Visalia?
No, I mean, it's just your home of record. I live in Tulare, so they said, yeah, you're over 50 miles, so you're staying at the Hampton.
Was there shit going on for the military in Fresno?
No, it was to house us or whatever. Yeah, we just.
But where? How'd you where?
Yeah, I was on Clovis and Shields.
In Fresno, so in Fresno, yeah.
In prison, yeah.
Why was the military housing people in Fresno?
I just the ones that lived outside an 80 or 50-mile radius.
That doesn't explain why the military is housing people in Fresno. There's no need for a military presence in fucking Fresno.
Well, I know, it's just the National Guard.
There we go, National Guard, okay.
Yeah, we can worry.
I was trying to get to where like, there's no fucking army base or shit, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
You weren't answering me right away. Like, I get why they fucking did it, so you didn't have to drive 50 miles, but why? National Guard makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here to these lecture notes. So the following data represents the cost of a one-night stay in Hampton Inn and La Quinta Inn hotels for a random sample of 10 cities. Test the claim that Hampton Inn hotels are priced differently than La Quinta Inn hotels. Now, see, I don't know that price differently is a good fucking test for me. I don't care if a hotel's priced differently. I want to know which one costs more, right? You don't want to know which ones are different. You can fucking look at the prices and go, yep, they're different enough for me. But like in general, which one costs more? I'm going to change this. We're going to do this for it looks like Hampton's got like all triple digit numbers and La Quinta doesn't. So we're going to say is Hampton Inn more expensive than La Quinta. If you copy and paste everything, including the header, this is what happens. It's important that you see it. It puts Hampton Inn and La Quinta Inn there. So don't leave it there. Put it up top. I can't tell you how handy it is to have the actual column names be what you want them to be, rather than bar 1 and bar 2. I don't want the names here though. They are not data, so I'm just gonna delete them. I don't need to move the rows up. StatCrunch doesn't give a shit if there's a blank spot there. It'll just ignore the blank spot. Now we're gonna do like, let's talk about the rest of the test. So is Hampton more expensive than La Quinta? That's what we're going with here. Mathematically, what kind of symbol would you use for that? For more expensive?
Greater than or equal to?
Greater than, right?
It's greater, okay,
Well, equal to is not more expensive. That's equal to,
fair enough,
right?
fair enough.
So this is gonna help us set up our HA. Let's choose group 1 to be Hampton, we'll call that mu1. And La Quinta is mu2. And so mu1 minus mu2 will be greater than 0. And that will be my mu d. So that will be my HA. Mu d is greater than 0. And H naught, I'm listing it below just so I don't have to write everything a couple times. Mu d equals 0. It's important that you identify the groups. Like label them. Labeled. Like, it's important enough that you get in the habit now, because if you don't do it on the final exam, on things where there's one group and you don't label which group's what, you're losing points. Because the answers are different depending on which group's labeled what. In fact, I'll show you that it's different today. We'll do this example that way. So if we're doing our hypothesis test, this is step 1. Step 2 and 3 is just like collect the fucking info. Collect our data. We need alpha, we need p-value, we need our test stat. It gave us alpha was 0.05 in the problem. That was a given for us. We're gonna have to go calculate p-value and test that. You don't look excited, Melinda. Are we not having fun yet? Just giving everybody a chance to write it down. My solar company that I'm trying to hook up with is trying the old bait switch, which fucking sucks. Because like my friend started working there and he's the one why I'm going to him. You need to get like a number of people to sign up within like a month or two. Or not sign up, but just show up for the presentation. And he was willing to offer me his entire like commission, like just use it as a rebate, take it off the price. So I think I'm getting a lower price, but like Sunrun, they said you're gonna have a battery attached to your house, you get a battery with it. But since you're doing Sunrun, it is not set up for backup battery. Like if the power goes out, you don't have power. And I'm like, the fuck is a battery for other than to provide you power with when you need it? Apparently, if you buy the whole system directly, they're supposed to set up that way. I am doing a prepaid program the whole way. So I'm basically buying it because it's cheaper, but that way I still get their maintenance for 25 years. And they don't do it with that. But the guys like the sales agent, my buddy's mentor said, Yeah, well, I'll make sure it happens. We'll make sure it happens. You get that battery as a backup power source. So like if the electricity goes out, yes, you can keep your AC running. I'm like, this is important to me. My wife is, she's got a medical condition. If she gets too hot, she could have a seizure. It's fucking important to me. All right, we're gonna do it. And I kept asking for something in writing and I wouldn't get anything. I've never gotten anything back from him, but my buddy has been trying to get stuff from him and now they want to set it up this Saturday and I'm like, are you guys gonna, a different person's contacting me, like the local rep. Are you guys gonna set it up with the battery? It's like, that's not part of your plan. I'm like, this isn't happening unless we make it happen. This is what I was told was gonna happen. And I'm not, it's like over 20,000 that I'm prepaying, like I'm taking out a loan, a home equity loan to just get it prepaid. I'm not shelling out that kind of money without getting what I want and what I was told I was getting. And like, they're supposed to have someone call me, but it's been 2 days and they haven't called them. I texted him today, I'm like, if someone comes out on Saturday, I'm just gonna tell them to get the fuck out. Because until I have something in writing saying I'm getting what I want, we're not doing business. He's like, I'll have someone call you, I'll have someone call you. Still didn't get a call today. That was today at noon. All right, back to the problem. That was enough of that boring shit. But it's like, it feels like a bait switch, right? They tell you they'll do it and then they don't. All right, we wanted to see if La Quinta in Hampton was more expensive than La Quinta. We're doing T-stats and this is paired. This is paired by city. Which makes sense. Like hotels are more expensive in San Francisco than they are in Fresno. So it does like, and you can't get enough Hampton and La Quinta inns in one town to like do a real comparison. So you gotta pick them from different cities, so we pair them. We're gonna do Hampton and La Quinta, and we're gonna say greater than. You can actually do save differences. This is kind of a neat option with the paired test. It'll make a new row, a new column that tells you what the difference in price was. I mean, it's not a hard calc, you could easily just subtract, but it does it all for you. And look at like, if we do Hampton minus La Quinta, all of them are positive except one row, which means Hampton was more expensive in 9 out of the 10 cases. In one of the situations, it was $100. It was 3 times the fucking price. 149 versus 49. That's crazy. What town was that in? St. Louis. That's a miserable fucking town. It's probably really neat to see in like fucking early spring or late fall. Late. I mean, you go in summer, it's a fucking, it's the capital. I think it's the capital of Missouri. It's a concrete jungle. So it's fucking hotter than fuck. The sun just beats down and hits the concrete and there's not a lot of trees and shit to cool anything down. And top it off with, for some reason, it's fucking muggy. High humidity, high heat. We went in summer, oh my God, it was just miserable. It's got the St. Louis Arch, the Gateway Arch, which is neat. You can like take an elevator up and go in it, but then you're getting into a fucking hot tin can and riding elevator. It's even fucking hotter.
I believe Jefferson City is the capital of Missouri, but
You're right, Jefferson City is.
St. Louis probably gotta be the major city. Like the major or whatever.
Look at you busting out geography on me. You're right, Jefferson does sound right. I'm not apparently a geography major. Who would have guessed? All right, so we got our T-stat here and our p-value. I just did the differences so you can look at them and go, oh, look. Let me write these values down and finish the test. 0.0003. Holy shit, that's a low p-value. Step 4, we need a verdict. This is our verdict step. So we are going to compare our p-value of 0.0003 to alpha, which is 0.05. Is p-value less than or greater than alpha? It's less than. What will my verdict be? Done this a few times. This part hasn't changed on any of them.
reject it.
Do I reject, you're going with reject H naught? P-val's too low, reject the hoe. You're right. We are going to reject H naught. We are going to reject H naught, so we are going to support HA. And HA was, Hampton was more expensive than La Quinta. So that's what we're gonna put in our final answer. Step 5. There is sufficient evidence to support the claim. That Hampton Inn is more expensive than La Quinta Inns. At alpha equals 0.05 level of significance. Now, this problem, we didn't have 30 samples. But the problem did come with a graph of a normal probability plot and a box plot. And the normal probability plot looks like it's normally distributed, even though there's only 10. And the box plot didn't have any outliers. So even though it didn't actually have like greater than 30, they gave us information that supports that it's probably applicable. You'll see as I tab over that it's there. Next problem we're going to look at is roller coasters. I can't see if you're still writing right now. Yeah, you are.
More expensive than.
That's fine. Exactly. I just couldn't see you. This box is in the way.
Step 1, to this case, it says the first line item is H,
A,
A alternative, and then it's U O.
D.
U D. I'm sorry, yeah,
It's a D.
that's what
They're both D's.
it is.
I don't know if the D is for difference or D is for dependence.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think D is for dependence. I thought it was difference for the longest time. But I'm starting to think it's dependence, because like they could have done the same thing with mu difference in the next like 1.3. And they didn't, but D for dependence works. All right, so our next problem that we're gonna do, before I tab over, I want to give you the information about it. It's a roller coaster problem. And the roller coaster manager wants to know if a new loading, unloading procedure for his ride I'll say process, because I wanted to change it up for some reason, will reduce wait times. The shorter you can get a ride's wait time. You can't the number of people is a big factor in line, but the quicker you can get them in and the amount of time that you spend on the ride also is something you can't change. You want more people there, you can't make the ride go faster without like making it too fast. But the one thing you can change is you can make it so that they get on and off the fucking roller coaster as quick as possible. That's the best you can do. So he's like, let's try this new thing. He compares values for 7 days for before and after. And he like records the wait time. Now, he picks it so like the before and after, they're at the same times of the day, same days of the week. Presumably the same weather and same season. So that like, there's no like anything else that might throw off this test. Like having one, you know, in fucking the third week of January and then doing it again over fucking Halloween weekend is not a good fucking comparison because a lot of people like to go roller coasters, like theme parks on Halloween. So like he picks the same time of the year, all that shit. He records the wait time and he wants to know, and we want to know. Well, let's see what alpha they want us to use. They opted for alpha equals 0.05. Check his theory. And it does tell us that, gives us a note that the probability, a normal probability plot and outlier box plot look good. All that shit we did in chapter 4 to do all this stuff, they said you don't need to do it. We got your back.
This is a normal.
Normal probability plot.
Okay. Awesome. I'm gonna picture it into like P1 or something.
Yeah, I
Okay,
started writing P for probability. I realized I was missing the word normal,
it's all good.
and that's important. So the data comes in rows. To fix this, you can do data arrange, transpose. This swaps rows and columns. Okay, ready? All right, I'm gonna grab all this. And I'm gonna grab the header here. Even though I know it puts it in the data table, I'm gonna grab it. Because I have pre-existing knowledge that you don't have. when you do data arrange transpose, it grabs the first fucking column and makes it your column. The first row or column stuff that's in like your row, it makes it the headers. And so if you don't grab the first bit of information, it's gonna be shitty. You'll see in a second. Where's my fucking StatCrunch? There it is. So I'm gonna just paste it right there. I got it between variable 5 and variable 14. When I do data arrange transpose, you gotta tell it what columns you're looking at. And I think it's easier if I do open a new data table. And look at that. It gave me the headers headed up top. If you just grab the numbers, it puts 11.6 to 10.7 at the top. That's annoying. Then you gotta move them down and you gotta make sure you do it right to keep the pairing. Pain in the ass. I don't need this column though. Label is an important column. But now we can do our paired test. So stats, t-stats paired. We didn't actually talk about what we want to do here. What's our H non HA? Let's come back and take a look at it. So he wants to know, does the process reduce wait times? And we have before and we have after. If the process reduces wait times, what symbol goes here? That sounds right to me. If you're not sure, plug in numbers that would work. Like let's say the wait time's 15 minutes beforehand. If the process works, after would be lower, it would be 13. And 15 is greater than 13, so I'm going to take the greater than and put it up there. And 15 and 13 were not part of the data. That's just numbers I chose as a hypothetical one, so I don't want you thinking that it's important. But pick numbers like to fill in case you don't know what symbol to put in. So we're gonna do before is greater than after, and so we can label group 1 before and group 2 after. H naught is the same for all of them. It's mu d equals 0. HA, we've got the greater than sign. As long as we have 1 on the left and 2 on the right, mu d will have the same sign as well. Mu d depends on having group 1 on the left and group 2 on the right, and then whatever the symbol is between it. That's what that depends on. So we've got it matched up that way. That's going to be what works. They gave us alpha equals 0.05. And we need our test stat and our p-value. After we finish this problem, we'll take a short break. Kind of need to check other solar places just to make sure that I'm getting the good deal. Like, solar companies are a pain in the ass. Like, if you want to get a real quote, they're like, you need to do a deposit. Yeah.
I used to work for someone, I was a seller. You want me to tell you how it works?
You worked for Sunrun?
I used to work for and I work with independent brokers. So the way it works, it's basically like the way the brokers and the settlers would make money is the commission. So if you sign a deal of more than like 30,000, the commission is about 8,000 for both the broker and the settler, so they would really split that. And that's like a minimum, like, system, right? You're looking at like 16 to 22 panels. And then you have to check the quality of the panels too. A lot of companies, they have old, like, kind of materials. So if you ever pay attention to solar, if the solars have like little squares and it looks like a microchip, those are the old panels. You want the black panels, which are the newest kind of versions, and then the sizes of the panels matter. And then when you do like sit in the table with the broker, make sure when he's getting your usage, right? Because he's getting your yearly usage. You note that too, so you're noting that too,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So they don't undersell you, because when they match the usage. And then they're like, okay, so if we put up 20 panels, it's what you used all year, right? Sometimes when you do that, you're gonna end up paying a true up bill, because if you match it, it's supposed to be just a slight, a slight
yeah, mine's like 110% higher, and I could make sure.
110. Even 110, you wanna know why 110 is still a little. Because when you have like, do you have a pool?
No,
Okay.
yeah, I know pools are giant energy sinks.
And you know, like,
Let me ask you this on break. Let's finish the problem. That way anyone can decide if they want to listen to the rest. I do want to know. We're almost done with the problem though. This is fascinating shit. Let's come back over here now that we know how we're gonna set it up. We have before and after. And we said before was greater than after. Yeah, mine's only like 22K. For, I wanna say 17 panels.
sunlight,
What?
with sunlight, just,
Sunrise.
that's possible, right?
What?
Possible? Or early night?
He's not through Costco. He actually lives, my friend lives in Oakland.
He's your friend?
Yeah, and that's why like he supposedly like gave up his commission
Look here,
to hook me up.
most likely, yeah, because those numbers are pretty low on the seven, you said 17?
17 pounds. All right, so we got our information. Well, that's good to know. You don't even look like you're old enough to fucking have all that knowledge. God damn. That's fucking awesome. All right, step 4, verdict. What are we gonna do? What do I do here to calculate the verdict? Help me here. I've already shown I can be grossly incompetent a great amount of times. I don't know what I'm doing here. Someone help me, walk me through this process.
P-value is greater than the alpha.
So we're checking to see if the p-value is greater than the alpha. I've got 0.05 and 0.1286. It does look like p-value is greater than alpha. What does that tell me? You sound unsure of yourself. You don't reject it. The p-value is not too low. So we're not gonna reject the null. Did you say the null? You didn't want to say the hoe? That hurts my feelings. Not support HA. There's nothing offensive. Santa says ho ho ho. What's wrong with the word hoe? It's a gardening tool. There's so many positive uses of hoe that you could be rejecting. Who am I gonna offend?
I had an economics teacher in high school and his comment was always ho, 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 and I'm not talking about your girlfriend. So I'm like,
Oh, damn!
like,
That's some next level shit.
yeah, Tory as hell, man.
I wouldn't say that to a fucking student, Jesus Christ. Although now, cause it's a couple I wanna say to like off the record, outside of class.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll wait for Christmas.
Alright.
Alright, so we're not supporting HA, and HA was. Before was greater than after, but that's not really what we were looking for. HA was that the loading process reduced wait times. That's what he really wanted to know. He didn't want to know about before and after. He wanted to know if it reduced wait times. There is not enough evidence to support the claim. That the process reduced wait times. At alpha equals 0.05 level of significance. All right, now I'll pause the video and now you can take a break. I'm gonna see if I can load up my Sunrun Opera on this motherfucker.
Alright.
After this section, 11.3, we've got 3 more sections for the entire month. So we're gonna be going at a little bit slower pace. There's gonna be time to work with your team in here on your projects, stuff like that. We'll probably do 1 section a day and give project time each day. After this, how's that sound?
Yes,
Wait.
thank you.
But you're almost done with what you, by Thanksgiving. You guys will have seen everything you need to know for the final. After that, we're working on the project, we're doing review stuff, get you ready to pass this fucking class. Presumably, yeah,
Will the final be hard copy and paper or be?
it's hard copy on paper. It's 10 questions, 2 of them are confidence intervals, 8 of them are hypothesis tests. I'll give you a review on this, you don't need to write it down. We'll actually have a full, like, I'll walk you through like an example test. I will give you all the information that StatCrunch would generate, so you don't need to go looking shit up. This is just like, you'll get the p-value, you'll get the test stat. Your job will be tell me what kind of a hypothesis test you used. What's the verdict, or what's H naught and HA. You need to be able to tell me what H naught and HA are based on your test that you think it is. And give me the verdict and concluding statement. It's not that hard. There's only 8 tests. And they're all different enough, and like when we go through the walkthrough, I'll show you how I reason everything out. Like I will go through all 10 problems, I will label them. And like we'll figure out what they are before we even start going through it, and that's how you should do the final. Go through and label everything, that way you know what problem you're looking at and go from there. Because no test repeats. Alright, so we're doing 11.3. This is on a 2 sample means test. That's independent, not dependent. This is where like a normal test. And I lovingly call this the 2 mu test. Same shit requirements for most things as paired. We want simple random samples. We want N1 to be greater than or equal to 30 and N2 to be greater than or equal to 30. Or normally distributed with no outliers. And we want them to be less than 5% of their respective populations. Things we've all seen before without subscripts. Now we got subscripts. And importantly, they are independent. N1 can equal N2, but it doesn't have to. And this is under stats. T stats. 2 samples. And we have the option with data, with summary. And you've got the power sample width in here too. Some shit like what, I don't know what order it's in. Power width sample, I don't know. It's the one that says power on it. So here you either need raw data. You need either A, raw data, like we had with pairs, or B, you need the mean, standard deviation, and size for each group. It will give you an option to pool the variances. This is rarely ever used. It assumes both groups have the same standard deviation. But there's no reason to assume that normally.
There's reason, there's no reason. Second to last.
There's no reason to assume that, yeah. All right, sounds like everyone's done writing. First example comes from yours truly. I did this test. Professor Jones wanted to know if using the first week for soft skills of class for soft skills like time management, study habits, growth mindset, you know, all that good shit we did for the first week. Does that improve scores for the semester? Rather than lecturing that week? You are free to look this data set up on StatCrunch. It's open to the public. On StatCrunch, the data set is called Comparing Grades Jones Hefe. Check his claim at alpha equals 0.5. Go find the data set. I guess I could have just searched for it and it would have been faster. So a little more information. Fall 2018 was the old method, regular lecture. Spring 2019 is when I implemented this thing. Soft skills week. That's important to know because that's how the columns are headed and like, we need to decide what does that mean? Like, we need to have an H0 and an HA building out of this. So like, and what's recorded is, recorded are final scores. So if I have fall 18 and spring 19, and I want to show that scores are improved by doing soft skills, what symbol should I use here?
Less than,
Less than. Why?
because you're hoping that spring 19 proved a greater.
Has greater numbers, right?
numbers.
If you're not sure, put in sample numbers in there, like 80 and 82 or some shit like that. And you'll see how it's supposed to look. That is the correct setup. So let's call this group 1 and let's call this group 2. And that's gonna help us set up our H naught. Well, not our H naught. H naught's always the same for these, is the statement of equality, 0. It will help us with HA though. This needs to be less than. Alpha was given to me at 0.05. And let's go find my test stat and p-value. Someone's still writing. That's what I'm waiting on. All right, now I don't see anyone running. I will continue. Here's my data set. And we're gonna go stats, T-stats. This time we're doing 2 sample because it's not paired. And we actually have the data, so we're not gonna do summary. And we want to put it in the order we had, so we're gonna say fall is first and spring is second. And that way we can keep the same order. And the test stat gives me negative 2.01 and 0.0237. I want to show you what happens if we're sloppy with how we label groups and aren't paying attention, what happens to the result. So all I've done is change the which groups are which. I kept the same sign. The test stat is actually the opposite sign, but look at what happened with the p-value. 0.0237, the wrong sign made it 0.9763. By being sloppy with assigning the groups, it gave me a really bad outcome. This is not correct. This is the right one. Let's see if there's, this is that pooled variances I was telling you about. Don't do it. Okay. So we got a p-value of 0.0237. Let's come finish our test. What do I do next? What's the next step? It's our verdict step, right? What do we do here? So we're comparing the p-value and alpha. Correct. And it looks like it's less than, right? So what's the verdict here? Okay, everyone agree? Don't reject? That's wrong. It's reject. P-val's too low. Reject the hoe. The null must go if you really want to not say hoe. Reject the null if you're like wanting to mesh the two. Support HA. HA here was study skills helped raise grades. So we'll come and make our concluding statement. There is sufficient evidence to support Hefe's claim. That focusing on soft skills for the first week is effective in increasing overall grades. I was very pleased with this. I was a new teacher, very new, like full-time teacher. And I joined like the math teachers, American math something. I'm embarrassed, I should know the name. But they have like a program for new teachers. You get a mentor from another college. That helps you out for like a couple years. But they also make you do a project. You gotta pick up some type of project you wanna do. I opted, I'm like, I wanna see, like I heard like. It should help, like, what if I do it, what if I try? And so I did, I'm super successful, so successful. I'll show you how successful when we go back to the data. Because it showed what the difference in the scores were. And I don't think anyone noticed it, but it had it. And I presented on it, and a lot of people were like at a national conference, and I had other teachers walking out, come and get your card, and you know, I got emails asking how I did it, and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. That's why I continue to do it. That's why you sat through and watched Laura Vanderkam and do all that fun stuff. Because it's designed to improve your grades. Doesn't help everybody, but overall it helps the majority. So it's doing mu1 minus mu2. Fall minus spring. Since spring is larger, the numbers should be negative. The sample difference was negative 10.7. That's percent of a grade. People's grades on average went up over 10%, which is a full letter grade. Now, I don't know if doing it in spring had some unseen benefit, like new students are no longer like, oh my God, college is fucking fast, that they are in fall, and maybe they fucking learned better and did better in spring. But I don't know that it was, even with that in effect, I don't think it was fucking damn near 11% better. So I think it works. So that's why we continue to do it. I continue to do it. My colleagues, I don't know that they do it. They don't listen to the master. It's like he's new, he don't know what the fuck he's talking about. All right, you got another problem we're gonna do here? This one was designed by students. Bounty versus Kirkland paper towels. Thank you. The students think, and they were COS students, thought Kirkland was stronger. So they got paper towels wet. And then saw how many pennies they could hold. Hold before breaking. The data is in our lecture notes. It's in the lecture notes data. And let me go get it. This section has a neat one on the normal quarters versus state quarters. Did the mean weight change by changing the back of the quarters? There's a neat experiment on there if you want to check it out later. And their idea was to test the claim at alpha equals 0.1. I mark my hands up so much trying to put the pin back in the fucking cap. You'd think I'd fucking look every day. Look like I don't know how to fucking put a cap on a pin. So before we get into this, let's reason out what H naught and HA should be. Some reasoning going on here. We've got Bounty and Kirkland. And they saw how many pennies they could hold. They recorded the number of pennies. That's important to know. Like, how are we testing this? I'm sorry, say that again?
Value would be less than.
Sounds about right, right? If Kirkland's stronger, it should be able to hold more pennies, right? That seems like logical reasoning to me. So it should hold more. Kirkland holds more. So if I call Bounty Group 1 and Kirkland Group 2, we are going to have mu D equals 0. And mu D is less than 0. And we already saw what happens if we put the wrong groups in the wrong order in the system. So that's why I take effort to write them down and label them on the paper, so I don't like confuse myself later on and like wonder what the hell I did. I've got written down what I did. Because it can take a while to go through one of these, and you're like, what? If you record it wrong, you are SOL. All right, so we want our p-value, we want our stat, and we want alpha, but alpha was given at 0.1. So let's go find the rest. You guys ready? Not quite. People still writing. If you have school on Fridays, there's no school tomorrow. The campus is celebrating Veterans Day, which is until Saturday. As a reminder, I will be at Starbucks on Caldwell and Demery from 8 to 10 on Sunday morning. I'm not going out of town for Veterans Weekend. I'm still here for my students. So if you guys want to come, I don't know if anyone's coming. Angel and Johnny usually show up. So you wouldn't be alone if you come.
I will be there.
What?
I will be there.
You'll be there?
On time.
I ain't buying that. Statistically, that hasn't happened very often.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, shots fired,
anyhow.
right?
Statistically, I could prove you wrong.
You're gonna start recording me the wait times for David waiting for fucking Johnny to show up. Lucky for you, Angel's usually on time. When she comes, she's on time.
I need to take a positive.
Alright, here we go. I got it. I did not copy the names because I know it's gonna put the names in the thing. I'll just come here and drop that bad boy right there. And this was Bounty and the other was Kirkland. So we will do stats, T-stats, to sample, and we have data again. And we wrote down Bounty for group 1 and Kirkland for group 2, and we did less than. If they ever ask you to like compare in the homework, compare it against or what was the p-value graph look like? You can always come down, all of them have this as an optional graph. I'll click it. Oh, look at this, they got mean marker too. Look at all this shit, there's lots of shit going on. Oh, fuck it, let's do them all. Let's see what else we got in here. Ah, it's got the QQ plot and everything, you do your own probability. You can check to see if it beats. I didn't check to see if the Bounty and Kirkland shit was met. They definitely don't have 30 in their sample, do they? They have 15. So we're gonna look at their sample and see how it looks. First off, we'll write down the information we got though. T-stat is negative. Jesus, -8.
Did you achieve significant value?
I don't think it. Wait, what?
This wasn't at 0.1 or is that something else?
The alpha, we don't use it. We use that at the end when we're comparing. So I got T-stat of that and a p-value of less than 0.0001. Oh, it gives the sample statistics. The mean number of pennies Bounty held was 547. The mean number of pennies Kirkland held was 826. God damn, that looks like a fucking hammer in the nail. Let's go look at, there's a normal probability plot and a box plot in here. The p-value is so negative, it's way off the fucking chart. Dot plot of samples. Oh, fuck dot plot. Box plot doesn't show any outliers. That was important. We didn't want any outliers. So the box plots don't have any outliers. And you can kind of see like this is Bounty, this is Kirkland. Like the range of Bounty, this is the highest Bounty. And that's below the 25% mark for Kirkland. This looks like a blowout for Kirkland. There's no outliers though, that's good to know. I don't need a histogram of it. QQ plot. The correlation, they have it up there. Oh, those are individual ones. So it looks like Bounty's a little more all over the place. Kirkland's following it pretty well though. So we have what we wanted. P-value. Is less than 0.0001, which is definitely less than 0.1, which is alpha. So this is a reject. Reject H0, support HA. One of the problems in one of these sections has a really interesting thing. They have you go through and do this for, they change the mean from 101 to 102 to 103. And each time they show you, you have a reject the null hypothesis. And at the end, they ask you, why do we not say accept? You're gonna hate it when you see it, because it's a fucking like 2 sentences with like 13 fucking drop down menu gaps. There's a shitload, it's fucking confusing to read, but the idea is, if we did the test at 101 for the null hypothesis, 102 for the null hypothesis, and 103 for the null hypothesis, and we reject the null hypothesis in every single case, that's different than saying we accept the null hypothesis. We accepted it, you're accepting 101 as the true value, but then the next test said we accept 102 as the true value, and then third test said accept 103 as the true value. Those are all different values and they can't all be true. One of them's gotta be true. That's why we don't say accept. Because it would say a lot of values are acceptable, or are what you should accept. We're just saying whether or not we reject the null. Or do not reject the null. I think it has you not rejecting the null. That's why you don't reject the null. And you don't, instead of accept. All right, so here HA was what? Bounty was less than Kirkland. That's not what we wanted. Kirkland was stronger. There's sufficient evidence. To support the claim. That Kirkland paper towels are stronger than Bounty. At alpha equals 0.1 level of significance. But let's face it, we could have given a much lower one and still would have been significant. Has anyone had to do this kind of thing in like elementary school, or? I just marked my hand up 4 times in a row trying to get in the gap. This morning's class, one of my students said, oh yeah, we did this. Each group we had to each pick a paper towel, and we did this in school. And she said thinner paper towels suck, like width-wise, not like thickness of the paper towel, but like how wide the paper towel is. She said, ours just didn't work, it was lame. Her friend was in the group, did it also, but no one else in the group had said they'd done it. Did anyone have to do that in your elementary school, like do paper towel test? Huh. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, the interesting one for me was, do pumpkins float? Or do they sink?
Well, the better question is do witches float? That's all I got for you today. Get the fuck out. Or work on projects. You don't have that much longer, 10 minutes. But that covers our stuff. Does anyone have any questions? Pumpkins float.
Yeah,
I think they do. They're hollow.
yeah, and surprisingly they do. It's crazy.
Well, boats float. They're fucking way a shitload more than pumpkins.
Did you see that, what is it, that rubber, that Flex Seal tape they got going on? How they completely covered this speedboat in this tape, and they were able to, when this thing was badly damaged, they patched it up.
Tape.
Yeah, it's called, Flex Seal tape.
Nope, never heard of it.
Yeah, there's a commercial.
Huh.
Hang on, this homework, and I gotta expect a 1-page paper for